At CLS last week, someone said the steps are not directional. And honestly, it may have been at this exact same time last week. And as soon as they said that these steps are not one directional, it reminded me of an episode of Beast Games that I just watched with my 15-year-old. No judgment. It's our family time. It's our bonding time. We've been watching the Mr. Beast games, and hopefully no spoilers for anybody out there. But there was this one particular episode where the contestants had to get from one side to the other side of this like 20 by 20 grid. And they had to make sure that they walked the exact same path. Think almost like a Legends of Doom. What was that show back in the day? Some kind of like Gold Rush type show. And if they made the wrong step, they were out. So sometimes they had to walk forward, sometimes they had to walk backwards. Sometimes, they had to sidestep even, but they had to like hit all these tiles in an exact certain pattern in order to get from one side to the other and get to the next level and the prize and all of that. And it was so interesting to me, like how my brain kind of made that comparison. And I started thinking, for a lot of people, our journey, whether it's, in entrepreneurship, even in other things too, sometimes in life even, it can feel that way. Every step may not be a forward step. We may find ourselves going backwards, taking a sideways step. And I really had to sit and think like, okay, when are those moments when I've been in that space? When are those moments when, as I've been going about, my day-to-day life, when I've been going about, towards my goals and the actions that I have for my business, when have I felt like, okay, maybe this isn't forwards, is this sideways or backwards and doesn't make sense for me? So that's what I want to talk about. Thank you guys so much for being here on this wonderful rainy Friday afternoon with me. But yes, that's what I want to talk about. How do you know when you're going forwards, when you're going backwards, when you're going sideways? What is it that you need to do in each of those spaces? How do you progress and what are you supposed to take away from that? Okay, that's a lot. So we're going to take it slow. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that forward space, right? When you feel that momentum, when you feel like, okay, I'm taking the correct steps, I'm moving forwards, how do you recognize you're in that place? Well, if you are thinking even within the past 6 months, you can probably think of a couple moments when you're like, oh yeah, that was probably a forward momentum. A lot of times those spaces will be characterized by some clear wins. You're hitting those deadlines, you're hitting those goals. You've got a lot of progress. A lot of times there's even some visible momentum as well. These are all signs that you're in that forward phase. And when you're in that forward phase, I say double down, right? You figure it out what's working. It's working for the time being. Go ahead and double down. Lean into the things that are working. Stay consistent, right? This may be a moment when you're like, okay, everything's good. Let me catch my breath. Lean into it, right? Who knows how long that forward momentum space is going to work, hopefully forever, right? But a lot of times that's not the case. So when you find yourself in this forward momentum phase, press in, put your gas on the pedal, do what's working, stay persistent and consistent so that you can achieve some really, really amazing results, right? These are the moments that we love to have because when we have those moments where things are hard, we can look back and be like, okay, I do have a history of successes that I can lean on. I do have all of these great moments to remind myself of that I can really be excited about. So go ahead, gather all of those moments during this time and really lean into this forward momentum. Jot them down, keep up with them, and don't let off the gas, right? So when you think about this, like I said, double down with what's working, stay consistent with your habits, your routines. If there's, particular processes that you've put in place that you find are really working for you, go ahead and stay in that space. So forward is the fuel phase. Keep feeding the fire. Do not stop, right? And when you think about it, really take this time to focus on your strengths, follow your strategy, and fuel your success. Again, these are going to be the moments that really help you in some of these other phases as well. So forward, the momentum phase, more than likely everybody's favorite phase. And honestly, we would love if we could stay in this phase, but sometimes we can't, right? There's moments that have to be made that only occur a few steps sideways. And I think that sometimes that can be difficult because you have to determine, is this a moment where sideways makes sense? And you see it happen in a lot of different ways. I remember a time when I was in a leadership role, and I kind of knew what it was that I wanted to do next, but there were a couple of skills that I needed to learn first. And so I did make a sideways step so that I could go ahead, learn those skills, gain that experience so that when I went to move forwards, it was going to be a possibility, because I'd gotten to the point where I really couldn't move forwards anymore until I took a side step, learned, and then kept on in my trajectory. So you may be finding yourself in a sideways space because of that, and it's an intentional decision that you made. Sometimes it just kind of happens, right? Sometimes you realize you're feeling stuck. Maybe you're plateauing. Maybe you find yourself just uncertain about the next steps, right? I know I need to get from point A to point B, but I'm not quite sure how to do that. Maybe there's a giant roadblock in your path where it's like, okay, I can't necessarily climb over this, but maybe if I step sideways, I can go around it, right? There may be quite a few different reasons for some sideways momentum, but don't look at it as a scary thing. So maybe right now, if you find yourself in a sideways step or needing to take a sideways step, you find yourself busy but not productive. Maybe you find yourself spinning your wheels. So sometimes sideways can also be the stagnation phase. Not always. Like I said, there can be times when it's a conscious decision that you make in order to learn something new or gain new experience, but sometimes it can just be flat out stagnation. So what do? Right? You find yourself in this space, you decide you don't like it. How can I get out of it? I don't want to move sideways forever. I need to keep moving forward. What can you do? A couple of things. So the first thing that I would say is take some time to reflect on what's holding you back. Is it fear? Is it lack of clarity? Is it overcommitment even? And the example that I shared, for me, what was holding me back was 2 skill sets that I needed to gain that I couldn't gain in my current environment, right? So take time to assess what's holding you back, because that's going to play a really big part in how you adjust and what you do next. The next thing, and I kind of gave it away, so reassess your plan and pivot if necessary. So if you take that moment and you reflect and you realize, okay, there's something new that I need to learn, there's something different that I need to do. Maybe I just need to change my mindset. Whatever that looks like, this is the time after you reflect where you get to reassess, make a new plan, make your new moves accordingly. And then lastly, seek support or inspiration from mentors, peers, resources. I've talked a lot about, making sure you have a strong network around you. And that network can be mentors, people who've, kind of walked that path and are pulling you along. It can even be people who offer an encouraging word of advice for you. I got an amazing voicemail from one of my best friends day before yesterday, kind of just cheering me on, giving me a shout out, right? So anybody who's going to be that person for you, because these can be moments of frustration, right? Stagnation, things like that. So lean into your support system to hold you accountable to changing these plans, providing you some support in this moment. And when you think about it, right, sideways, like it's where you get to strategize. So for those of you like me who enjoy this strategy space, it can actually be fun, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be this scary, horrible space, but it's where you can strategize, because you don't have to do that necessarily when you're moving forward. You've got the plan, you're full tilt ahead, you're driving hard, but when you have to move sideways, that's where you get to think, okay, how do I best go about this? Do I move left? Do I move right? How far left? How far right? I might have done that the wrong way. But anyways, it's the place for you to strategize. So use this time to recalibrate, to focus. And in this space, right, you're really taking that time to pause to plan, you're pivoting with purpose, and you really have to persevere through the process, right? So don't back down. This is where some really cool, amazing things can happen if you allow it. So don't be afraid of sideways. It's not as scary as it may seem. All right, backwards. What does that look like? So when you think about backwards, think about the learning phase. So how do you recognize it? So a lot of times when people have to take a backward step, or they're in the middle of a backward step, there may be things like setbacks, failures, feeling like you've lost some progress. So maybe you'll have some missed opportunities, some unexpected obstacles. things that really kind of, make you fall down sometimes even. And again, it doesn't have to be a bad place. Like, I feel like for me at least, backwards have created so many amazing learnings for me that have really allowed me to, what's the word I'm looking for? Slingshot? I think that's the word. Slingshot myself forward. So don't be afraid of the backward phase. Like, obviously, you don't want to stay in backward phase for forever, right? But at the same time, how you actually use the backward phase and what you take away from it can be a good thing if you do it effectively. So, the first thing that I recommend if you find yourself in a backward phase or realizing that you're in that space, think about the experience. Don't necessarily look at it as a loss, think of it as a lesson. So, I've been talking to you guys a lot about like, hey, I'm really trying to get 20 YouTube videos down. And so every time that I do a video that maybe I don't like or I feel like it wasn't my favorite, I stop and I say, okay, what could I do differently for next time, right? So I'm trying not to look at, video number 2 that wasn't the best as, oh my goodness, this horrible loss. What is the lesson to be learned in it? You guys will probably even notice a difference in camera quality between video 1 and video 2, right? I hated the video quality of number 1. Didn't look at it as a huge loss. Okay, what can I do differently? So keep that mindset, and the backward phases, that learning phase, won't seem as daunting as before. The next thing, right? So it's not a loss, it's a learning. Identify what went wrong and how you can grow from it. So it's not just enough to realize like, hey, there's something to learn. You actually have to learn it. You actually have to make the changes based off what you learned. So really lean into that and then take those small intentional steps forward to rebuild your momentum. Oh, sorry, tongue twister there. So again, don't be afraid of it, right? It's weird, it's scary, I get it. Everybody wants to move forward, but when you do have to take a step back, make sure that you're getting something out of that backward step and not just, having a pity party for yourself. So when you think about it, backwards is that bridge to a breakthrough. Every setback can really help propel you forward. So learn from your losses, leverage your lessons, and leap into growth, right? That's kind of the way that I look at it when I break it down, right? So learn from losses, leverage your lessons, lean into growth. And honestly, for all of you guys out there, regardless of what step you're on, if you're going forward, you're going backwards, you're going sideways, you're making momentum. That's the biggest thing. And it's not always a straight shot, right? Like, I'm sure every single one of those contestants on Mr. Beast going on that 12 by 12 tile where they were having to take the steps to the other side, I'm sure they would have all loved if it was just, 12 steps straight forward to the other side. But no, it did not end up playing out that way. And it probably won't play that way for us, but that's because we have to have spaces to strategize. We have to have spaces to learn lessons. So don't look at it as this bad thing. So progress isn't perfect. I think we've talked about that before quite a few times, but that persistence, it does pay off. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep showing up for your brand. Keep showing up for the people that you serve, and you'll get there. And if this resonated with you in any way, I would love it if you would share it with somebody who could use just maybe an encouraging word today. It's a beautiful, kind of cloudy Friday out here. So I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend, and whatever step that you're on, go out there and be awesome.